Step into the world of Crimson Tales, where every shadow hides a story and every story leaves a mark.
The sun above Asgard was bright, but its light seemed swallowed by the sheer mass of soldiers gathering in the palace courtyard. Shields gleamed like a field of stars. Spears caught the light and threw it back in brilliant streaks, and banners snapped sharply in the wind. The air was filled with the scent of steel, leather, and the sharp ozone tang of enchantments. Above them, perched on the golden spires, Odin's ravens screamed in excitement, circling in wide, hungry arcs. They knew what was coming. Asgard had not marched on Jotunheim in centuries. Harry stood beside Frigga at the courtyard's edge, unable to deny the flutter in his chest when he looked upon the army. Odin had called together nearly every fighting force not already stationed in Jotunheim's moons. Einherjar veterans, Valkyries mounted atop winged steeds, dwarven siege masters hauling cannons, and runesmiths chanting over crates of explosive spells. And at the center of it all stood Odin. Clad in the armor, Harry had forged his armor. The Allfather looked like a storm wrapped in metal. The 8 spectral tendrils behind him moved with a mind of their own, swirling blue and black like the tips of some celestial beast. His helm cast a long shadow over his one good eye, but the eye itself burned with anticipation. He was not a king today. He was the god of war. Your grandfather is too eager for this, Frigga muttered, folding her hands tightly. Ever since you gave him that armor, he's been pacing like a caged wolf. Harry tried to smile. It's flattering, I think. It is dangerous, Frigga corrected. But she didn't get to say more. Odin stepped forward. Warriors of Asgard, Odin said, and the entire courtyard fell silent. Even the wind stilled. His voice was not shouted. It didn't need to be. It rolled through the air like thunder, heavy and commanding. Jotunheim has forgotten honor. They have spilled the blood of our workers and soldiers. They have attacked without warning, without cause, without mercy. A growl rippled through the lines of soldiers. We showed restraint, Odin went on, raising his spear. Gungnir. We mined peacefully. We honored treaties old as the branches of Yggdrasil. But now, the tendrils behind him flared with bright blue light. Now we strike, not to conquer, but to end what they began. The shout that followed shook the courtyard. Odin let it roll for a moment, then lifted a hand, and silence returned instantly. We march on Jotunheim itself. What Thor and Loki hold at the moons, we will take at the heart, and I, Odin Borson, will lead the first charge. At that, even the sky seemed to tense. Then Odin turned his head slightly. Harry, come. Harry approached the raised platform, every step echoing in his ears. Odin reached out, resting a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder. The gesture alone silenced every whisper in the courtyard. During my absence, Odin said, voice steady as stone, this prince shall act in my stead. Gasps swept the ranks. Harry blinked at him. Me? But you showed wisdom at the council table, Odin said. Courage in battle, and restraint where it mattered. These are the qualities of a ruler. But I'm not. You are, Odin interrupted. And you must be. Harry swallowed hard. He could face trolls and frost giants with his fists, but ruling all of Asgard, that felt like lifting a mountain. Frigga's warm smile reached him from the sidelines. It steadied him more than Odin's grip. Finally, Harry nodded. I will do what is needed. Odin's eye gleamed with pride. Harry took a breath. Grandfather, if I'm to protect Asgard while you're away, I'll need soldiers. Odin raised a brow. Most of our armies are marching to another realm. If Jotunheim retaliates here, Asgard must not be undefended. The murmurs that followed were surprised, but approving. Finally, Odin nodded. A sound request. He gestured to a towering general with a braided beard. Captain Hrolf, detach 2,000 of your best. They shall serve under Prince Harry's command until further notice. Hrolf thumped a fist to his chest. As you command, my king. The prince shall have my finest. Harry exhaled in relief. Odin leaned closer, speaking softly, so only Harry heard. Well said. A king must think of danger before it arrives. A horn sounded at the far end of the courtyard. The Bifrost energy crackled, spiraling toward the ground like a heavenly drill. Frigga stepped forward, clutching Odin's gauntleted hand. Please, do not do anything reckless. Reckless, Odin echoed. My dear, I am far past the age of recklessness. You say that, and yet Frigga gave a pointed look at the glowing spectral tendrils. You are practically vibrating with excitement. Odin coughed, ignoring the comment. He faced Harry one last time. Lead well, learn well, and above all, do not disappoint Asgard. I won't, Harry said quietly. A smile tugged faintly at Odin's mouth. Good, then Asgard is safe. With a stomp of Gungnir, the Bifrost erupted beneath his army. The ground shook. Light swallowed the soldiers. Magic boomed like rolling thunder. In a flash of color and power, the All-Father and his army vanished into the rainbow fire. Silence fell. Harry looked at the empty courtyard, the shimmering air where the army had stood moments before. Frigga touched his arm gently. Are you afraid? Harry exhaled. Yes, good, she said. Fear guides wisdom. Now come, my boy. Asgard awaits its acting king. Behind them, 2,000 soldiers fell into formation. Harry straightened his shoulders. The throne room doors opened, and for the first time in his life, Harry walked forward. Not as a student, not as a smith, not as a fighter, but as the ruler of Asgard. Asgard's throne room was too vast, too silent. Harry sat on the gilded seat, Odin's seat, feeling its weight seep into his bones. His armor lay dormant on a nearby pedestal, runes flickering faintly. The generals had already dispersed. The palace had settled into an uneasy quiet, waiting for the next order from a boy who wasn't sure he deserved any of this. He rubbed his face and exhaled. He needed to talk to someone who wasn't a god, a general or a political advisor. He needed his mother. Harry unclipped the small round mirror from his belt, a gift from his mother, enchanted to communicate anywhere in the universe. He tapped the glass. It shimmered. Her face appeared, red hair messy, eyes sharp, voice a mixture of hope and anger. Harry, where have you been? 2 weeks, young man. 2 weeks. Wanda burst, hands on her hips, even inside the reflection. Harry smiled softly. Hi, Mum. Don't hi-mum me, she snapped. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? If America hadn't reassured me that you were fine, I would have opened a portal myself, and wait, why are you wearing royal robes? Why are there guards behind you? And why, she narrowed her eyes, do you look like someone dropped an army on your head? Harry winced. Mum, there's a war in Jotunheim. Wanda blinked. Once. Twice. A what? And I might have been there when it started. Wanda's jaw dropped. Harry, and now I'm acting king of Asgard. The silence that followed was long, heavy, and dangerous. Harry braced himself. America, Wanda said in a calm, utterly murderous tone. Yes, America's voice answered from off-screen. Open a portal to Asgard. Now, all right. Harry sagged. I should have told you after the battle, but I was... You were what? Wanda hissed. Busy being a king? Busy fighting frost giants? Busy risking your life in a foreign realm while your mother is quietly aging from stress? Harry scratched the back of his neck. Well, yes. Wanda disappeared from the mirror. Harry sighed. This is going to be a long day. Outside the palace gates, a star-shaped portal ripped open with a thunderous crack, swirling red and blue like living lightning. 3 figures stepped through. Wanda, glowing with protective fury. America Chavez, grinning widely like she belonged in any interrealm landing. And Sirius Black, cloak flapping behind him, shouting before he even crossed the threshold. Harry James Potter Black, you better not be missing any limbs. If you're bleeding, I'm grounding you for centuries. Harry groaned. Oh no. The guards scrambled, spears raised, until they saw Frigga glide forward from the palace entrance, calm and warm. Lower your weapons, Frigga instructed. They are family. Relief flooded the guards. They stepped back. Wanda marched up, grabbed Harry's face between her hands, and inspected him like he was a glass sculpture. You're not bleeding. No frostbite. You still have all your fingers. She shot him a death glare. I am going to kill you, but later. Sirius reached him next, swept him into a bear hug that cracked his spine. You stupid, brilliant boy, Sirius said, voice thick. Don't scare us like that again. Harry grinned. It's not like I planned a war. Don't, Wanda snapped. Finish that sentence and I'm hexing you into a goat. America burst out laughing. A very adorable goat. Frigga stepped toward them with a serene smile. Welcome to Asgard, she said. I am Frigga, Queen of Asgard. Wanda immediately bowed her head. Your Majesty. Frigga shook her head gently. No need for formality, my dear. You are family. That sentence alone nearly made Wanda tear up. Sirius placed a hand over his chest. I still remember the food I ate last time. If you give me some of again, I may never leave. Frigga's lips twitched. We shall see. She led them inside the palace, speaking softly as they walked. I know you must be frightened for him, but rest assured, Harry has been dutiful, wise, and more responsible than any child his age should be forced to be. Wanda sighed, brushing Harry's hair back. I know he's capable. I know he's strong, but he's also my son. Harry leaned against her shoulder. I missed you too, Mom. This is not about missing me, Wanda muttered. This is about you fighting an army of giants without telling me. America raised a hand. In Harry's defense, it was a big army. Not helping. When Frigga announced that Harry's mother and guardians would be staying in the palace, the court reacted like someone dropped a live thunderbolt into the throne room. Whispers spread through the gilded halls like wildfire. A mortal woman sitting with us? She should not be near the throne. Mark my words, she intends to control the boy king. Control? She's his mother. That is worse. By the third hour, nobles were already writing complaints on parchment, but Frigga only smiled, unbothered by the murmurs. Asgard's queen had seen jealousy, fear, ambition, and pettiness for thousands of years. Mortal gossip did not impress her. The throne room was filled with the usual grandeur, towering columns carved with ancient runes, a floor of polished obsidian, and the massive golden throne at its center. But today, something was different. Beside Harry's seat, smaller, meant for the acting regent, Frigga had placed a cushioned chair. Wanda sat on it. She didn't look uncomfortable or intimidated. In fact, she sat with quiet confidence, legs crossed, her fingers tapping lightly on the armrest, as she observed every Asgardian counselor like she was evaluating potential threats. And the room noticed. Some council members stiffened, others scowled openly, a few muttered between themselves, unable to hide their disdain. Outrageous. An outsider here? The All-Father would never. She has no right. Harry sat straight-backed, pretending he didn't hear any of it. Sirius stood behind him, arms crossed, expression daring anyone to complain out loud. America lounged casually beside a column, kicking her boots against the golden stone and giving every noble who stared at her a cheery wink that only made them more uncomfortable. Frigga observed the room with the serene expression of someone who had once tamed a dragon with her tea recipe. The council will come to order, she said lightly. Silence fell. The first speaker, a tall, thin man with frost-white hair, bowed stiffly toward Harry, then pointedly ignored Wanda. My prince, he began, Asgard faces a delicate political moment. With the All-Father at war, the realm looks to you for leadership. Harry nodded. Of course. But, the man continued, voice dripping with insinuation, leadership also requires independence. The throne must be free of external influences. Several eyes flicked toward Wanda. Wanda raised one eyebrow. Just one. The man paled slightly. Harry's voice sharpened. My mother is not an influence. She's here for me. Yes, another counselor interjected softly, his tone smooth as oil. But appearances matter. For the stability of Asgard, it may be wise to restrict who sits near the throne. This time, he didn't look at Wanda. He stared. Wanda leaned back in her chair, smiling faintly. Oh, please continue. I'm curious how you plan to phrase the next insult. The man swallowed, but pressed on. We simply believe the prince should rule alone. Otherwise, some may believe that a foreigner rules Asgard by proxy. Foreigners, Wanda repeated, nodding slowly. Yes, because unlike frost giants, witches, elves, dwarves, visitors from Muspelheim, or random dragons, I'm the dangerous one. Sirius choked on a laugh. Frigga hid a smile behind her hand. The room tensed. Harry stood up, not loudly, not aggressively, but with the steady posture of someone raised by warriors, trained by gods, and loved fiercely by a mother who would burn the universe for him. My grandfather asked me to rule, he said clearly, not as a puppet, not alone and afraid, but wisely. His eyes traveled across the council, stern, steady, uncompromising, and wisdom means knowing who I trust. He motioned toward Wanda. This is my mother. She is staying. She is welcome, and she has a seat here because I want her here. A stunned silence followed. One elder tried again, voice tight. But, no, Harry said firmly. Enough. Wanda blinked, surprised, proud. America pumped a fist silently. Frigga's gaze glimmered with approval. Sirius looked like he wanted to cheer, but settled for a small, smug smile. The councilman bowed stiffly. As you command, my prince. One more thing, Harry said. The entire room froze. Anyone who believes I am a figurehead is welcome to challenge me. Right here, right now. The silence that followed could have frozen fire. No one moved. Harry sat again, and Wanda gave him a small nudge with her elbow. Not bad, baby, she murmured. Still grounded, though. Harry groaned. The golden serenity of Asgard did not prepare anyone for the sound that broke the morning calm. The sudden echoing crack of the Bifrost activating. Harry looked up sharply from the throne dais. Wanda, seated beside him, immediately straightened, her instincts prickling. Frigga paused mid-conversation with a group of healers and turned toward the great doors. A guard sprinted inside, breathless. "Your Highness, someone has returned from Jotunheim." Harry was on his feet at once. His heart thudded hard. Returned too soon, much too soon. He raced out of the palace hall, Wanda and Sirius at his heels, America close behind. Even Frigga moved swiftly, skirts whispering across the marble floor. They reached the Bifrost Bridge just as the light faded. What stood in the center made everyone freeze. 3 warriors knelt on the shimmering surface of the bridge, 2 Valkyries and 1 dwarven smith, all covered in frostbite burns, cracked armor and blood. Their faces were gray with exhaustion. Heimdall stood behind them, his expression carved from stone. "They asked for the prince," Heimdall said quietly, "and for the queen." Harry stepped forward, throat tight. "What happened? Where is?" One of the Valkyries lifted her head. Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Your Highness, the All-Father leads as only he can." Her voice shook. "He is unstoppable. His armor, it burns like the sun. The frost giants cannot withstand him." Harry exhaled sharply in relief, but then her face hardened, fear creeping in. "But King Laufey has rallied forces from the Iron Glacier. They number in tens of thousands. The sky, it blotted out with their numbers. Even Odin cannot face them all at once." Wanda stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. "Are Father and Uncle Loki safe?" The dwarven smith bowed his head. "They fight at King's side. Thor's hammer has shattered entire ice cliffs. Loki commands the mages. They hold the front. Barely." Sirius swore under his breath. The second Valkyrie, younger than the first, stared at Harry as if begging him to understand. "We came because Odin ordered all gravely wounded to return home. There were too many injured for the healers to handle in the field." Her lip trembled, but a second command accompanied it. "Tell the prince to prepare. Jotunheim will not fall easily." Harry felt a chill that had nothing to do with cold. The dwarf reached into his armor, drawing out a strip of frozen cloth bound with runes. He held it toward Harry. This was from Lord Loki. Harry took it. The runes pulsed once, then Loki's illusion shimmered to life above the cloth, flickering unstable, clearly made during battle. Loki's image smirked weakly. "Little Thunderbird. If you're seeing this, it means we're in the thick of it." Behind him, distant explosions shook the illusion. Frost giants roared. "We're alive. Thor is crashing through the giants like drunken lightning. Father, well, he's father." Loki's eyes hardened. "But Laufey has called ancient forces we did not expect." A massive shadow passed behind him, something huge, armored in ice. "We may not hold the outer ridge for long. Be ready, Harry. Asgard must not be caught unprepared. Fortify the palace. Prepare the Bifrost guards, and listen to Mother." Loki hesitated, then forced a faint smile. "Don't worry too much. I've survived worse." He paused. "I think."
Author's note. Power shifts crowns weigh heavier than armor and war tests more than the strength in these chapters. Harry's journey from warrior to ruler begins just as the storm on Jotunheim grows darker.
The illusion shattered. Wanda touched Harry's shoulder. "He's scared." Harry swallowed. "So am I." The wounded were taken to the healing chambers, Frigga guiding the process personally. As the palace healers ran to assist, the murmurs that followed spread like wildfire. "Odin is overwhelmed? The giants number too many. The prince must decide what happens next. We must ready the defenses." For the first time since Odin left, the entire palace looked to Harry. He felt the weight of their stares, heavy, expectant, almost suffocating. Wanda stepped in front of him, her hands warm on his cheeks. "Harry, breathe."
He did.
Sirius put a firm hand on his shoulder. "We're here. You don't face this alone." Even America nodded, her expression serious for once. "Tell us what to do, boss." Harry closed his eyes. The chaos inside him stirred, but he pushed it aside. He could not rely on that. Not yet. Not unless the palace itself was in danger. He straightened. "Prepare the city," he said quietly. "Fortify every wall. Call the council. Strengthen the wards. Our soldiers must be ready if the front breaks." The guards bowed. "By your command, Prince Harry." As the palace leapt into motion, Harry stood at the center of the storm. Not as a child, not as a smith, not as a student, but as the acting king of Asgard. The emergency council was called at dawn. By noon, the throne room felt like a boiling cauldron, packed with nobles, generals, war scribes, and rune strategists. Every breath carried tension. Every whisper carried fear. Harry sat in the throne. He wasn't wearing armor, but the posture, the seriousness in his gaze, it was the closest he had ever come to looking like Odin's heir. Wanda sat beside him again, ignoring the dirty looks from several nobles. Sirius stood behind the throne, with arms folded, radiating silent threat. America Chavez leaned against the pillar, chewing gum and giving nobles a look that said, "Try something. I dare you." Frigga watched Harry quietly from the side, ready to support him, but letting him lead. When the last noble filed in, Harry stood. "We received wounded from Jotunheim," he said, voice steady. "King Odin, Thor, and Loki face an army far larger than expected. They need reinforcements." A murmur of unease spread. Harry raised his voice. "As acting king, I call for 6,000 additional soldiers to march immediately." Gasps, shouts, instant protests. A noble with rings on every finger stepped forward. Lord Carroll of the Western District, wealthy, influential, and a notorious hoarder of private troops. "Your Highness," Carl said, bowing only the minimum required. "We sympathize with the royal bloodline, but my soldiers must remain in Asgard." "And why," Harry asked calmly, "would that be?" Kyr lifted his chin. "Because there are bandits, raiders, and uncertainties. What if Asgard is attacked while the royal army is away?" "Jotunheim is our threat," Harry said, voice sharpening. "Not bandits." "But threats shift," Carol insisted. "My estate contains priceless artifacts. If space bandits breach a Bifrost gap while my army is gone, my family will have nothing." "That," Harry said coldly, "is the definition of cowardice." An uproar followed, outraged nobles protesting, a few loyal soldiers muttering approval, scribes trying to keep up. Another noble woman, Lady Brynhild, stepped forward. "I agree with Lord Kael," she said. "Every family must protect its holdings. If we send our private forces, who defends our homes? Our children?" Harry felt heat rise in his chest. "Your king and princes are fighting at the front, and you worry about your gold." She stiffened. "Your Highness, you ask us to risk everything." "I am asking you," Harry said, "to stand with Asgard." "And what if we refuse?" Brynhild asked boldly. The throne room fell silent. Harry opened his mouth, but Wanda stood. Her red magic flickered faintly at her fingertips, not threatening, but not subtle either. "If none of you will go," she said quietly, "I will." The council blinked. Brynhild laughed under her breath. "You, a mortal sorceress? One woman against an army?" Another noble snickered. "Let her go, Prince Harry. She will return running by sundown." Sirius growled under his breath. America cracked her knuckles. Wanda only smiled, slow, dangerous, amused. "One woman," she repeated, stepping forward, "can do more than 10,000 cowards." Gasps. "You dare?" Carol sputtered. "Oh yes," Wanda said sweetly. "I absolutely dare." Harry stood abruptly. "Mum, you don't have to." Wanda touched his arm gently. "Harry, your grandfather is fighting. Your father is fighting. Your uncle is fighting. You are needed here." "But I go where you cannot," she said softly, "where you must not." The truth of it hit him like a punch. Wanda turned back to the council, eyes glowing faint red. "You speak of protecting treasures," she said. "My treasure is Harry, and I don't sit back while the people he loves are dying." Dead silence. Carol, however, sneered. "One woman cannot turn the tide of a war." Wanda tilted her head. "Really? Shall I demonstrate?" The nobles collectively stepped back. Frigga stepped forward, finally speaking. "Prince's mother is more powerful than half this room combined. Do not insult her because you do not understand her." Harry straightened. "She goes," he said firmly, "and I will send my 2,000 soldiers with her." More protests exploded, but Harry raised one hand, and the room fell silent instantly. No one dared breathe. Harry turned to the generals. "Assemble the army. They depart within the hour." He looked at Wanda. "Come back safe." Wanda smiled softly. "I always do. Trouble runs from me, remember?" Harry exhaled shakily. The nobles watched, fearful and resentful, as Wanda stepped forward to take command of the reinforcement army. And just like that, Earth's most powerful sorceress marched to war. The Bifrost cracked open like a rainbow-bladed wound in the sky, and the moment Wanda stepped into its light, her silhouette burned crimson, magic swirling around her wrists, cloak snapping like a battle flag. Behind her, 2,000 Asgardian soldiers, armored and resolute, marched into formation. The sound of their boots echoed through the golden courtyard. Harry stood at the edge of the bridge, fists clenched. Wanda touched his cheek. "You'll be okay," she whispered. "I should be with you." "You should be here," she corrected softly. "If Asgard falls from the inside, it won't matter what happens on Jotunheim's front." America gave Wanda a fist bump. Punch a giant for me. Sirius hugged her fiercely. Come back in one piece. Wanda nodded, then turned toward the Bifrost Center. The silence after the Bifrost closure felt wrong. Too heavy. Too empty. Harry stared at the spot where Wanda had vanished, heart pounding faster than before. Sirius placed a hand on his shoulder. She'll be fine. I know, Harry whispered. I'm not worried about her. America tilted her head. Then what scares you? Harry turned back toward the palace, the towering golden doors, the long shadow the throne cast across the floor inside. No armies, he said softly. Only palace guards. And the nobles, Sirius muttered darkly. Harry nodded, jaw tightening. All of them kept their soldiers, claimed bandits, family safety, treasure protection, but really, they didn't want to lose power while Odin is away. America snorted. Cowards. Sirius crossed his arms. They're watching, looking for a moment to act. Harry's eyes sharpened. I know. Harry summoned his 2 spies, the only 2 Asgardians he trusted among the nobles' households. Ira, a young Valkyrie trainee swift as wind, and Fenric, a dwarven messenger who had helped Harry in the forge. Both knelt before the throne. Your Highness, Ira said, breathing fast. Rumors already stir. Several noble houses are discussing emergency leadership options. Discussing? Sirius scoffed. Plotting, she means. Fenric nodded. 2 houses, House Kjarl and House Brynhild, are gathering their private guards. Slowly, quietly, but gathering. Harry's stomach tightened. He had suspected this. He had prepared for this. You both know your tasks, he said quietly. Ira bowed. I will move between households, hear what they fear, hear what they want. Fenric slammed a fist to his chest. And I'll watch the troop movements. No one moves an army inside the city without a dwarf hearing the ground rumble. Good, Harry said. Report directly to me. No one else. The spies vanished, slipping into shadows. America whistled. You're really doing the whole Spy King thing. Harry's face was serious. I have no choice. I know the nobles, they want the throne, and now that Odin is gone, Thor and Loki are gone, he swallowed. I am the only one standing in their way. When night fell, Asgard glowed in gold and violet hues, but its heart was uneasy. The great halls whispered. The servants whispered. Even the palace guards shifted nervously, glancing at the nobles' palaces beyond the walls. Rumors were already spreading. The boy king is weak. He has no army. Foreigners occupy the throne. Now is the time. Harry stood at the balcony overlooking the entire city, feeling the weight of a realm that did not trust him. Sirius joined him quietly. You don't have to do this alone. I know, Harry said, gripping the railing, but if something happens here, no one will be able to help. The truth cut deeply. 2 battles. 2 fronts. And Harry was responsible for both. He lifted his chin. Then we protect Asgard from the inside, he said, and we trust them to protect it from the outside. Sirius smirked. Good plan. Harry didn't smile. His eyes glowed faintly with Thunderbird lightning. Let them try, he whispered. If any noble thinks I'm a greenhorn, they're about to learn otherwise. As shadows gathered across Asgard's noble estates, and Wanda marched toward a war of giants, Harry prepared for the war brewing right behind his throne. The snow of Jotunheim fell like shards of broken glass, sharp, bitter, and heavy with death. Odin Allfather stood knee-deep in it, surrounded by corpses of frost giants and Asgardians alike. His armor, Harry's armor, glowed faintly in the storm, runes flickering like dying stars. For 2 hours, Odin had fought without pause. 2 hours against an army that never ended. Every frost giant he felled was replaced by 4 more. Every burst of Gungnir's power only carved a moment of breathing space before another wave surged forward. Behind Odin, 1,000 Asgardian warriors struggled to maintain a line, slipping on icy ground soaked with blood. The 8 golden energy tentacles that hovered behind Odin had once lashed out like serpents, slicing giants in half, deflecting ice bolts, forming shields of pure force. But Odin was tiring, and with every breath he lost, another tentacle flickered and vanished. From 8 to 5 to 3 to 2, even a god could not maintain conjured constructs indefinitely. Odin's breathing grew harsh, fogging around his beard. His bones ached, older than mountains, younger than regret. He was losing, and the giants knew it. Odin falls today, roared a frost giant war chief, slamming his mammoth axe into the ice. The ground trembled as hundreds of giants surged forward, a living avalanche of blue skin and jagged blades. Odin slammed Gungnir into the ground, summoning a blast of golden force. Giants flew back, but more replaced them. Too many. Far too many. And still, no sign of Thor. No sign of Loki. They were trapped on the moon front, cut off by Jotunheim's blizzard storms. Odin grit his teeth. "I will not die today," he roared. But his voice, for the first time in centuries, held fatigue. Then the sky split open. A pillar of rainbow fire struck the battlefield, shaking mountains, melting ice, throwing giants off their feet. The Bifrost. Odin's heart dropped. No, this is wrong. Those are the troops I sent to Harry. They were meant to protect Asgard, not join this slaughter. This is a death sentence. Asgardian soldiers, 2,000 of them, poured out of the beam of rainbow light. Their armor gleamed. Their swords shone. Their faces were resolute. But Odin wasn't relieved. He was horrified. "They will die," he whispered. "All of them. I sent them to defend Asgard, not die in this forsaken realm." A frost giant general laughed. "More toys for us to break." Odin raised Gungnir again, ready to order a retreat, until he realized something was wrong. The 2,000 warriors did not look frightened. Their eyes were not desperate. Their posture was not defensive. They stood with the calm of soldiers who expected to win, and then Odin felt it, a ripple through the air. A surge of red, a whisper of impossible power. From the fading rainbow light of the Bifrost walked a woman, shorter than the Asgardians, younger than Odin, a mortal compared to gods. Yet the ground beneath her cracked as she stepped forward, her boots leaving embers in the snow. Her cloak fluttered like blood-stained silk in the frozen wind. Energy coiled around her like serpents made of pure, violent magic. Her eyes glowed crimson. The Scarlet Witch. Odin's jaw parted in shock. By the Norns. Harry sent her. The Frost Giants stopped mid-charge. Even they sensed it. A power older than prophecy, deeper than runes, darker than chaos itself. One giant whispered, trembling, What is that?" Wanda lifted her hand. A flicker of red power formed at her fingertips, quiet, delicate. Then it grew. Like a star going supernova, like a sun being born in a cradle of ice. FWOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO was lifted into the air, frozen in red energy, leg kicking, eyes bulging, unable to blink or breathe. Wanda tilted her head. I don't have time for this. She clenched her fist. Crack! The suspended giants collapsed into dust, ice blue particles drifting down like snow. The battlefield became silent. Even Odin, all-father of gods, could only stare. Wanda turned toward him, eyes still glowing. My son says you needed reinforcements. Odin swallowed. He had seen sorcerers. He had seen witches. He had seen the end of worlds. But this was something else. Lady Wanda, he managed. I did not expect you. Wanda smiled, a dangerous curl of her lips. Well, she said, raising both hands as scarlet storms coiled around her arms. You're at war, and I wanted to help. The frost giants began to retreat, an entire army stepping back in instinctive terror. Odin steadied his grip on Gungnir. Odin nodded. I appreciate that you came to help Asgard. Wanda finished calmly. I did not come to help Asgard. Odin blinked. Then why? Wanda's smile widened. Energy swirled, tearing cracks in the ice. I came, she said softly, because someone tried to murder my son while he wasn't doing them any harm. Her eyes blazed bright red. And now I want to teach them about the consequences of their unprovoked attack. Odin felt a chill deeper than Jotunheim's winter. This war had just changed. For the first time, Odin whispered under his breath, Harry, your mother is terrifying. Wanda swept her arms forward, unleashing a storm of chaos magic. And the frost giant army broke like shattered glass. The Scarlet Witch had arrived. The cold winds of Jotunheim howled like a wounded beast, but Wanda did not hear them. She rose above the battlefield as if the air itself moved aside for her. Her boots left the ground. Her crimson aura flared. Her eyes glowed like twin dying suns. And then, her clothes shifted. Cloth unraveled into glowing embers and reformed into a scarlet battle robes swirling like living flame. A crown thin, elegant, unmistakably hers, formed above her brow. The Asgardians who watched felt their breath freeze, not from the cold, but from awe. Wanda raised a single hand. The battlefield obeyed. Thousands of scarlet arrows materialized behind her, floating in a sea of crimson magic. Each one hummed with raw, unstable chaos. A frost giant general stared, confused. What magic is this? Wanda flicked her hand forward. FW. The arrows screamed through the air like falling stars. Each arrow that touched ice, armor, or skin detonated, unleashing crimson shockwaves that hurled giants into the frozen cliffs. The explosions lit up the battlefield in flashes of red, a thunderstorm made of magic and fury. Asgardians shielded their eyes in disbelief. She's wiping out an entire army, one whispered. Another muttered, terrified. She's even stronger than the king. Odin did not respond. He was watching every movement with an expression Asgardians had never seen on the All-Father's face. Fear. Real fear. If she ever turned her power on me, there is a chance I may fall, Odin realized. A chilling thought. A humbling one. But Wanda wasn't finished. She stretched both arms outward. The ground trembled, then split in two, a massive crack tearing through the battlefield like an earthquake. Frost giants lost their footing, screaming as the ice beneath them collapsed. Dozens, no hundreds, fell into the newly formed abyss. With another wave, Wanda closed her fist. The pit sealed shut, trapping the giants beneath tons of ice. Impossible, Odin murmured. Not even I could. Wanda rose higher, her voice calm and cold. You wanted war. She thrust her palm forward. A colossal wave of chaos magic roared out, knocking entire battalions off balance. Some giants froze. Not from fear. Not from shock. From Wanda's mind. Her magic wrapped around their skulls like threads, pulling tight, controlling them. Fight, she whispered. And they obeyed. Mind-controlled frost giants turned their weapons on their own brothers, unleashing a massacre within their own ranks. King Laufey watched in horror from the rear. Retreat, he bellowed, voice cracking. Retreat, she is a monster. Run. It was no longer a battle. It was a slaughter, and the slaughter was one-sided. The frost giant army broke and ran, fleeing across the icy plains, leaving weapons and wounded behind. Laufey himself fled with them, face pale.
Author's note: leadership is tested not just on the battlefield, but in the throne room, where fear, loyalty, and betrayal collide. As Harry holds Asgard together, Wanda's arrival turns a losing war into a legend written in chaos and fire.
Only when their silhouettes vanished into the white fog did Wanda lower her hands. The crimson glow faded, her robes flickered, and dissolved back into her normal attire, her crown dissipating like a dying flame. She landed on the ice gently, knees trembling just a little. Her breath came fast. Her hands shook. The chaos magic curled back into her body slowly, like a beast reluctantly returning to its cage. Odin approached her cautiously, for the first time in his long life, unsure how close he should stand. He placed a hand on her shoulder, hesitant, respectful. Are you all right, Wanda? He asked quietly. Wanda closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. It's been a long time, she whispered. A long time since I've used my power like this. She looked at her palms, faintly glowing red. If I pushed it any further, Odin, there wouldn't be a chance for me to come back to myself. Her voice softened. And I can't afford that. Harry needs me. Odin swallowed. For centuries, he had believed himself the strongest being in the 9 realms. Today proved him wrong. He squeezed her shoulder gently. Thank you, he said, not as a king, but as a grandfather. Wanda gave a tired smile. I didn't do it for Asgard. I did it because those men were Harry's responsibility, and someone dared to threaten them. Odin nodded slowly. Then the frost giants have awakened the wrong force. And as the snow fell once more, quiet and trembling, Odin realized this war was about to change. Because now, on the side of Asgard, they had an army, a king, and a scarlet witch. The rainbow torrent of the Bifrost tore open the sky, slamming into the icy wasteland with blinding brilliance. 400 Asgardian warriors stepped out, armor clattering, weapons ready, breath misting in the frozen air. Thor leapt forward first, Mjolnir spinning in his hand. Behind him, Loki's knives gleamed blue against the frost. They expected chaos. They expected a battlefield still in the throes of slaughter. What they found instead was silence. A graveyard of giants stretched across the horizon. Corpses lay frozen and shattered, weapons embedded in ice, craters of crimson energy burned deep into the ground, frost giant blood stained the snow black, and at the center stood their father Odin, armor glowing, breath steady, and beside him, Wanda, wiping sweat from her cheek with surprising calm. Thor's jaw dropped. Loki blinked rapidly as though unsure if he was hallucinating. All 400 warriors froze at the sight of her. Wanda, Thor breathed. Wanda turned, giving them a gentle smile so utterly out of place on a battlefield of corpses. "It's been a while, Thor," she said lightly, as if greeting them in a sitting room instead of a war front. Loki whispered under his breath, "By the Norns, she did this?" Odin nodded once. "Yes." The two princes exchanged a look, equal parts awe and fear. Then Thor approached Wanda, nearly slipping on a patch of ice. You destroyed an entire army?" he sputtered. Wanda shrugged modestly. "They tried to kill Harry. I didn't have much choice." Loki mouthed silently. "Tried to kill Harry?" The Asgardian soldiers behind him shivered. Thor clasped Wanda's wrist gently, scanning her face carefully. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," she said. "A little drained, but fine." Odin cleared his throat. "We must prepare for what comes next. This was a victory, but not the end." Wanda nodded and stepped forward. Her fingers traced a glowing pattern in the air, five-pointed, swirling with star energy. A star-shaped portal erupted open, humming with soft cosmic light. Gasps echoed across the warriors. "This connects Jotunheim and Asgard directly," Wanda explained. "It will stay open until I close it. Reinforcements can arrive instantly. The injured can return just as fast." Thor's eyes widened. This is sorcery. Even Asgard does not possess." Wanda smiled faintly. "This is not sorcery. This is me." Loki whispered to Thor, "She is terrifying." Thor smacked him lightly, but didn't disagree. "Come," Wanda said, "let us bring the wounded home." Under Odin's barked orders, the living Asgardians marched across the battlefield with grim focus. One group gathered the bodies of their fallen brothers. Another secured the frost giant prisoners, those who remained unconscious or too stunned to fight. Healers tended to the injured, wrapping them gently in golden magic. Thor and Loki moved among their warriors, giving encouragement, lifting crushed beams, helping carry the worst wounds. And Wanda supervised the entire effort, her eyes glowing faintly whenever a wounded soldier was near. Even Odin watched in silent astonishment. "Your magic," Odin said quietly, "bends the realms themselves." Wanda didn't look up from sealing another deep wound with red light. "My magic protects what I love," she said softly. Odin nodded. The throne of Asgard never felt heavier than when Harry sat upon it. It rose behind him like a mountain of carved gold, shimmering with runes older than the stars, but all Harry felt was the weight of watching eyes, the weight of responsibility, and above all, the weight of treachery, slipping like smoke through the palace halls. Odin had been gone for only few days, but those days were more than enough for the nobles to start circling like vultures over a battlefield. Harry kept his back straight, his expression as unreadable as he could manage. He had watched Odin do it 100 times. Smooth, calm, dangerous. Now he understood why the old man always looked so tired afterward. Before him, the council of nobles stood in a sweeping crescent, adorned in shimmering armor, robes heavy with jewels, and expressions even heavier with contempt. "My prince," Lord Valley began, dipping into a bow that was shallow enough to be an insult, "it is the opinion of this council that your foreign associates be kept from the palace for security reasons." Harry raised a brow. "Foreign associates?" "Your Midgardian family," Valley replied smoothly. "Surely you understand. The palace must maintain decorum." Another noble nodded vigorously. "We also believe, respectfully, that the throne room should be reserved for Asgardians. Allowing outsiders to sit beside you sends the wrong message." Harry forced himself to breathe. "The wrong message," he echoed calmly, "or a message you do not like." A ripple ran through the council. Valley's jaw stiffened. "We are merely concerned for the stability of the realm," he said. "Your mother walked freely through the palace. Your companions speak openly in council. Asgard needs a king, not a—" He stopped himself, but the word lingered in the air like a bad stench. Harry descended the golden steps of the throne, each footfall echoing in the hall. At 11 years old, he was small compared to the towering nobles, but not a single one dared look down on him as he approached. He stopped directly in front of Valley, who had to tilt his head down to meet Harry's gaze. The noble expected anger, or outrage, or even childish indignation. He did not expect Harry to smile. "You forget something," Harry said quietly. "When King Odin gave me this throne, he gave me authority, not you. You are here to advise me, not to command me." Valley's nostrils flared. "And what if we refuse to follow the orders?" Whispers exploded through the hall. Harry's smile did not fade. He simply raised one hand. A soft crackle responded. Lightning raw, unpredictable, alive, danced across his fingertips. The nobles recoiled as one. A few stumbled backward. Someone gasped. Even Valley's eyes widened, his skin paling as Harry whispered, "My mother can face any army alone." The lightning flared bright red. "My father wields a power that shakes worlds." Valley took another involuntary step back. "My uncle bends chaos and illusion." The lightning deepened into a violent, swirling crimson. "And I," Harry finished softly, "am all three." Silence swallowed the throne room. Even the golden torches along the walls seemed to burn more quietly. "If any of you," Harry continued, lowering his hand, "undermine my authority, I will remove your tongue and let you eat your own words." Valley dropped to his knees. "My prince, forgive me. I spoke out of concern for the realm." "Then learn to speak with respect," Harry said, turning away from him. "And remember your place." He climbed the steps again and sat upon the throne. Council dismissed. The nobles fled the hall without a single protest. The doors slammed shut behind them, and the echoes drifted away. Harry let out a long breath and slumped slightly in the throne. "Asgard is exhausting," he muttered. A shadow stirred behind one of the pillars. "You handled them better than most kings," came a familiar voice. Harry didn't startle. "Fandral," he sighed, "were you spying on me again?" The warrior stepped forward, smiling under his mustache. "Only a little. Old habits." Harry rubbed his temples. "How bad is it?" Fandral didn't answer at first. Then quietly, he said, "Several noble houses gathered tonight. They mean to question your right to rule." Harry felt the cold flicker in his chest. "How?" "Either a vote," Fandral said grimly, "or an assassin." Harry's eyes hardened. "Names?" "We're working on it," Fandral replied, "but they believe Odin may die in Jotunheim, or your father might." Harry clenched his fists. The torches flickered with red energy. "Find every conspirator," he ordered, "every messenger, every guard they buy, every servant they bribe." Fandral bowed. "Of course." "And Fandral," Harry added softly, "one more thing." "Yes, my prince?" "If they attempt a coup," his voice became the quiet, lethal voice of someone who had already survived war, "I will tear down their estates and exile their entire families." Fandral's face drained of color, but he nodded. Lord Carroll's estate was an empire of excess. Gold-veined pillars rose like frozen lightning. Tapestries woven with enchanted thread shimmered under torchlight. Every wall groaned with the weight of trophies stolen from fallen kingdoms. Skulls of beasts, shards of relics, weapons forged from metals no mortal realm had ever touched. The estate did not merely speak of wealth, it screamed of ambition. Tonight, its grand meeting hall, an obsidian chamber lit by silver fire, was crowded with the most dangerous kind of Asgardians, nobles with power and grudges. 16 lords sat around a crescent table carved from meteor stone, their cloaks whispering like snakeskin. At the head of the table lounged Lord Carl, tall and broad-shouldered, his black hair tied back in a warrior's knot, and his eyes sharp as frost-bitten steel. Beside him sat Lady Brynhild, draped in emerald velvet, her gaze as sharp as a dagger's edge. And across from them, clutching a goblet for comfort rather than thirst, sat Lord Volley, still pale from the memory that haunted him. It was Volley who finally broke the silence. "Let us address the obvious," he began hesitantly. "We believed the prince, young as he is, would be malleable, easy to influence, but he is not." Lady Brynhild's lips tightened. "Not malleable," she repeated, "not compliant, and certainly not blind to our ambitions." Lord Cale's fingers drummed lazily on the table. "A child on the throne should have been a blessing. A boy with no experience, no political backbone. No fear of us," Brynhild corrected sharply. "No hesitation to use force," Valley whispered. Murmurs rippled across the table. Valley swallowed hard. He could still see it, red lightning crackling across the prince's fingers, humming with the promise of destruction. "You were not there," he said hoarsely, "when he confronted us in the throne room. The moment I questioned him, he did not shout. He did not tremble. He smiled. Red lightning danced in his hand as though he had been born to wield it." Brynhild's eyes narrowed. "Power can be overcome, but not his mother," Valley muttered. "You all forget what she is capable of." Silence fell like a blade. Even Carol paused. Valley's voice shook as he continued. "She tore through our palace as though they were ants. When she came to Asgard the first time, she laid waste to half the guards who tried to stop her. She is terrifying. No one tormenting her son will live." Lady Brynhild snorted softly. "She is mortal." "Mortal or not," Valley said quietly, "I do not want to die screaming under her magic." His words hung heavily over the room. Kjorl's lip curled with disdain. "Fear makes you weak, Valley." "Fear keeps me alive," Valley snapped back, surprising even himself. Lady Brynhild leaned back, eyes glinting with cold calculation. We are not here to discuss fear. We are here to discuss opportunity. Odin is gone. Thor and Loki are fighting far from the throne. Asgard is ripe for reshaping. Karl stood, his cloak falling behind him like the wing of a raven. I want what Odin refused me for decades. The Vanir territories will be mine when the war ends. And I want the Uru Prime, Brynhild said, her fingers tracing the rim of her goblet. The boy will never grant me access to the mining rights. Never. Vali swallowed, then forced himself to speak. And I desire stability, influence, a future where Asgard is led by wisdom, not the whims of a boy who has lived barely over a decade. Kjerl spread his arms. You see, each of us seeks a future that the Prince Odin's precious heir stands in the way of. Brynhild's eyes glittered. Manipulation failed. Threats failed. Intimidation failed. Kjerl smiled, slow and venomous. Then we use the oldest law in Asgard. Vali stiffened. No, you cannot mean. Yes, Kjerl interrupted, the grand moot. Several nobles gasped. The torches in Lord Kjerl's meeting hall burned low, their silver-blue flames flickering as though uneasy with the company they kept. Lord Vali stood at the table, broad shoulders casting a long shadow across the stone. We all agree, he declared. The prince must be removed. Lady Brynhild's emerald eyes flashed with cold ambition. But we lack the one requirement the moot demands. Indeed, Vali muttered, fingers trembling around his goblet. The grand moot cannot simply overthrow a king or regent. The law demands a challenger of same bloodline, a true heir. Karl's jaw tightened. Odin has only Thor, Loki, and now the boy. There is no other. No other who lives, Brynhild corrected softly. Kjerl ignored her. The moot requires more than a bloodline. It demands a champion stronger, wiser, more worthy than the one on the throne. Someone who can prove Harry unfit. Vali shook his head. No such person exists. Odin named the prince his heir. Thor has no interest in ruling. The moot is impossible. A murmur of frustration swept the room. Some slammed goblets onto the table. Others cursed under their breath. Even Brynhild's mask of poise cracked for a moment. They had schemes, they had ambition, but they lacked the one thing ancient law demanded, royal blood. Until a voice older than the rest croaked from the end of the table. There is one. The room fell unnaturally still. 16 heads turned toward Elder Hrovald, the oldest noble present, his skin wrinkled like worn parchment, his silver beard resting against his chest. He rarely spoke. When he did, the others listened. Vali frowned. One who what? One who bears Odin's blood, Hrovald rasped. One who is older than Thor, more powerful, more rightful. Brynhild's breath hitched. That cannot be. Odin has no other children. Hrovald's eyes gleamed with something ancient knowledge long buried. Odin has a daughter. Silence struck the hall like winter frost. Kjerl leaned forward, voice dangerous. Explain yourself, old man. Hrovald's fingers drummed weakly against the table. Thousands of years ago, before Asgard became what you see today, Odin waged wars across the 9 realms, not for peace, but for conquest, for glory. In those days, he fought beside his firstborn. Vali felt his stomach drop. Firstborn? You mean a princess, Hrovald said. A warrior unmatched, a reaper of realms, the rightful heir to Asgard's throne. Lies, Brynhild whispered, shaken. If she lived, we would know. You know nothing, Hrovald snapped, sudden energy rising in his ancient voice. Her power grew too great, too violent. Odin feared she would destroy all that he built, so he struck her down and imprisoned her. Another shiver passed through the lords. Imprisoned, not slain. Lord Kjerl narrowed his eyes. And where is this? Lost princess. Hrovald's lips twisted into something between reverence and dread, sealed somewhere no one knew. A gasp tore through the nobles. Hela, Hrovald exclaimed, Odin's firstborn, the one who should have been queen. She is of the royal blood. She fulfills the law of the Grand Moot. Brynhild pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. If we find and free her, she could claim the throne legally. Not only legally, Karl murmured, effortlessly. She conquered realms with Odin himself. Hrovald leaned back, exhaustion overtaking him. And if she rises again, she will reward those who set her free. Her vengeance will remake the 9 realms, but she will grant us anything we desire. A feverish silence filled the hall. Uru Prime, Vanir lands, power, influence, all of it, finally within reach. Lord Rollo, however, felt cold, truly cold. Do you fools not understand, he hissed. She was imprisoned because she was too dangerous, too powerful. She is Odin's nightmare. If she returns, she will not reward us. She will rule us. She will slaughter us the moment we cease to be useful. Kjarl's smile was sharp as a blade. Better a goddess who needs us, he said, than a child who don't care about us. Rollo stared at him, horrified.
Author's note: victories on the battlefield give way to shadows in the throne room, where power-hungry nobles begin their deadliest game. As Wanda reshapes the war, a buried secret about Odin's past rises, one that could shatter Asgard itself.
You would unleash the goddess of death to topple an 11-year-old boy? No, Brynhild corrected, her smile matching Kjarl's. We would unleash her to topple a king. The nobles raised their goblets in twisted unity. To the return of Princess Hela, Brynhild said. Hervald lifted his cup high, to the true queen of Asgard. High above Asgard, where the sky glowed with molten gold, Harry sat alone on the balcony outside his private chamber. Below him, the realm shimmered with life, 1,000 lanterns lighting the city, 100 floating ships gliding through enchanted sky winds, the rainbow bridge stretching like a divine promise across the void. Asgard felt infinite. Midgard, in comparison, felt like a fishbowl. Harry sighed, leaning against the carved railing. Why was it that Midgard, the realm that held so many brilliant people, so many powerful wizards, witches, warriors, scholars, remained completely blind to the existence of the other 8 realms? He had asked himself the question 1,000 times. A faint rustle behind him broke his thoughts. Still thinking? A familiar voice asked. Harry turned. Frigga stepped onto the balcony, her expression soft, her silver blonde hair floating like threads of moonlight. Harry sank into a seat beside her. Can I ask you something? He asked. Always, she replied warmly. Harry glanced at the open skies again. Why is Midgard the only realm that doesn't know the others exist? Asgard protects them, right? But we don't talk to them. We don't teach them. Barely anyone from Midgard even knows Asgard is real. I just don't understand why. Frigga exhaled softly, as if she had expected this question for years. The answer, she said, is older than Asgard's golden walls. Harry waited. Long ago, Frigga said, Midgard was part of the cosmic courts. Elves, dwarves, giants, each had dealings with Midgard's ancient people. The humans of Midgard were first allies of Alfheim, then apprentices of Nidavellir, and eventually rivals of Asgard. Rivals? Harry blinked. Yes, Frigga murmured. Midgardians were ambitious, reckless, creative. Their thirst for knowledge rivaled even the Light Elves. For a time, they created artifacts and weapons that challenged the gods. Her eyes darkened. And when they felt inferior, they became desperate. Harry frowned. So they were sealed away from the others? Separated, Frigga corrected. For the safety of all. Odin believed that if Midgardians knew the truth today, their pride would shatter. They would lash out. Their leaders would challenge realms far beyond their ability to comprehend. Harry snorted. Sounds about right. Frigga's mouth curved in a sad smile. Midgardians possess incredible potential, but their hearts are fragile, their egos fragile still. They believe their planet is the center of the cosmos. Their magic, when they had it, became diluted. The bloodlines thinned. The knowledge vanished. And now, Harry said quietly, they boast about purity and superiority without knowing how small they are. Frigga placed a gentle hand over his, not small, Harry, merely young. Harry raised a brow. They treat Asgard like a myth or a fairy tale. That is by design, Frigga replied. The last time Midgard knew of the 9 realms, they worshipped us, or feared us. Both are dangerous. Harry leaned back, watching golden clouds drift lazily overhead. Sometimes I wonder, he murmured, what would happen if they met an elf, or a frost giant, or a Vanir sorcerer? The pureblood families in Midgard, wizarding and muggle, act like they're the greatest thing to ever walk the universe. Frigga chuckled gently. Imagine their faces if a light elf entered one of their grand estates. Harry laughed under his breath. They'd probably faint. Or, Frigga added teasingly, challenge him to a duel, believing themselves superior. Harry groaned. Merlin, I can see it. Frigga turned serious again. Your empathy for Midgard is admirable, but be warned. If the realms reunited, Midgard would face truths they are not prepared for. Harry nodded slowly. Still, I think about it. What would happen if Midgardians realized how small their world is compared to the 9 realms? Maybe they'd stop boasting. Maybe they'd stop thinking bloodlines define power. Frigga's eyes softened. You carry the hearts of 2 worlds, Harry. You see their flaws and their potential. Harry looked down at his hands. The hands that carried Asgardian strength, Midgardian magic, and chaos woven into every vein. Still, he muttered, I kinda want to see their faces when the first frost giant walks into Diagon Alley. Frigga chuckled. That day will come, child. Realms cannot remain separate forever. Harry stared out into the cosmic horizon, where the shimmering auroras of the realms pulsed with life. Then I hope, he said softly, I'm there to see what Midgard becomes. Frigga placed her hand on his shoulder, pride shining in her eyes. You may be the bridge between worlds, Harry, whether you choose to be or not. Harry didn't respond, but the thought lingered. Dangerous, exciting, inevitable. Morning sunlight spilled like liquid gold through the high windows of the Asgardian throne room. The marble floor gleamed. The banners of the royal house swayed softly in the breeze. And upon the throne sat Harry. He hated mornings like this. Not because the throne room intimidated him. Not because the golden seat felt too large, too ancient, too heavy for someone his age. But because the problems that reached him were always the same. My goats have eaten my neighbor's bark tree. My son refused to join the guard. You must order him. The river crystals are turning purple again. Harry listened, judged fairly, offered solutions, and moved on. The palace scribes whispered about how calm and mature he was. The nobles whispered about how naive he must be. The palace guards whispered about how terrifying his mother was. Harry ignored them all. He was waiting for the report from his spies about what the rival lords were planning. Vali, Charl, Brynhild, whatever they were doing it quickly and quietly. Harry wanted answers. He was nearly done with the morning cases when the horn sounded. A deep, sonorous boom echoed across the throne room. All conversations froze. The guards snapped into formation. A herald in green and copper robes stepped forward, bowing deeply. Your Highness, he said loudly, an envoy has arrived from Vanaheim. They request audience, urgently. Harry straightened. Vanaheim, the one oldest trading power among the 9 realms. The realm that controlled 30% of internal commerce, food, fabrics, rare herbs, alchemical glass, silver, oils, spices. For millennia, they had been the economic heart of the realms. And for millennia, Asgard had been the spine. Asgard controlled every major treaty, every crossing of the Bifrost, all high-value dimensional travel fields, Nidavelir's advanced weapon distillation, Yggdrasil energy crystals, the magical ores used in runesmithing. Vanaheim and Asgard were partners, rivals, enemies, allies, everything in between. And now, while Odin was at war, the Vanir king chose this moment to send an envoy. Harry almost smiled. Of course he did. Send them in, Harry said calmly. The doors opened to reveal a procession of Vanir diplomats, tall, elegant, clad in shimmering moss-green capes, woven with golden runes. Their leader, Envoy Faelrin of House Sunspear, bowed with exaggerated grandeur. Your Highness, Faelrin said, voice syrupy smooth. It is an honor to meet the young Prince of Asgard. Harry leaned back into the throne. Young. He expected that word sooner or later. You come without announcement, Harry said politely. Unexpectedly, that usually means something important or something urgent. Faelrin smiled as if speaking to a small child. Indeed, my prince, we bring a treaty, he gestured, and an aide unfurled golden parchment. A new trade agreement between Vanaheim and Asgard. As your esteemed grandfather is occupied, we thought it prudent to finalize this with you instead. Harry raised an eyebrow. You want me to sign a treaty alone while King is away at war? Faelrin bowed again. War is chaos, Your Highness. Trade must continue. And youth has a refreshing perspective on peace, does it not? There it was. They expected him to be ignorant, an untested boy, a placeholder king who could be pushed. Harry looked at the open scroll. Inside were carefully crafted clauses, beautiful to the naked eye, poisonous beneath. Clause 8. Vanaheim gains open access through Bifrost at reduced tariffs. Clause 11. Asgard allows Vanir fleets to trade directly with Nidavellir. Clause 17. Vanaheim supervises distribution of Yggdrasil healing crystals. Harry's gaze sharpened. This was not a treaty. This was a takeover. If he signed this, Asgard would lose control over inter-realm travel, healing crystal distribution, the Nidavellir weapons supply chain. It would cripple their war economy. Faelrin's smirk told Harry everything. He truly believed Harry would sign. Harry rested his elbow on the armrest, chin in hand. Envoy Faelrin, he said mildly, do you consider me a fool? The diplomat stiffened. Your Highness, because only a fool, Harry continued, would sign away Asgard's backbone during wartime. The room froze. Guards shifted. Advisors held their breath. Thelrin swallowed. Your Highness, surely you misunderstand. Harry stood. A storm rolled through the air. The enchantments on the throne flickered. The room dimmed slightly, as if the world itself leaned in to listen. He descended the steps slowly, each footstep echoing in perfect rhythmic warning. Let me explain something, Harry murmured. Asgard is weakened by war, yes, but we are not broken, not desperate, and absolutely not stupid. Thelrin stammered. My prince, these agreements are standard. Harry flicked a hand. The scroll flew to him. He held it between two fingers as chaos-tinted lightning crackled faintly along his knuckles. You came here, Harry said softly, expecting a child. Someone you could manipulate. Someone who would bow to your economic pressure. Thelrin remained frozen. Harry tilted his head. A treaty like this is not diplomacy. It's a declaration that you believe Asgard is vulnerable. He stepped closer until he stood inches away. You are wrong. Thelrin trembled. Harry turned and walked back toward the throne. You will return to Jotunheim, he said, his voice steady, and inform your king that Asgard is not a realm to be trifled with. If he wants a treaty, he can come to Asgard himself when Odin returns, not before. The message arrived just past sunset. Harry had just finished reviewing the defensive ward layers around the palace when the palace doors burst open and a breathless palace guard sprinted in, frost crystals clinging to his armor from rushing through the storm outside. Your Highness, urgent news from Jotunheim. Harry stood instantly. Frigga, who had been sitting on the far side of the room with arms crossed and senses alert, also lifted her head. Speak, Harry commanded. The guard swallowed hard, knelt, and raised a sealed green envelope. Harry recognized the sigil immediately. A twisting circle of vines, thorns shaped like teeth. The Green Circle, Jotunheim's most radical faction, nature zealots, extremists who believed Asgard's agricultural outposts in Vanaheim were an affront to the forests and sacred groves of their realm. Harry broke the seal. The parchment was rough, smelling faintly of crushed leaves and sap. He read the letter once, then again, and a third time to make sure he wasn't misunderstanding the audacity of what they had done. Frigga narrowed her eyes. What does it say? Harry handed her the parchment. As she read, her expression darkened into something vicious. Asgardian outpost in the Vale of Verdaska was attacked, Harry said quietly. Our workers, herbalists, ward keepers, all captured, imprisoned. Frigga's jaw tightened. That's a declaration of war. Not exactly, Harry murmured, pacing. It's blackmail. The letter's message was painfully clear. Asgard cannot fight two fronts. Sign the treaty with Jotunheim or forfeit your people. Harry clenched his fists. Jotunheim's envoy hadn't come to negotiate. He had come to intimidate. The treaty was not diplomacy. It was a threat hidden in elegant script. And when intimidation failed, they escalated. The Green Circle acted as Vanaheim's unofficial attack dogs, while the Vanir king washed his hands, pretending innocence. Harry's pulse hammered. I insulted their envoy, he said, and they answered by imprisoning Asgardians. I feared this, Frigga said softly. Vanaheim has long envied Asgard's control of the Bifrost trade routes. Without Odin present, they assumed you could be pressured. Harry's expression hardened. They're wrong. Frigga looked at him carefully. Harry, this is not as simple as punishing a noble. Vanaheim is powerful. Their forests feed half the realms. Their trade sustains many smaller kingdoms. And they are holding Asgardians hostage. Harry's voice sharpened. They crossed the line. A guard fiercely. We should go there. Now, break the Green Circle. Tear their prisons apart, stone by stone. Harry shook his head. No, that's what they want. What? Guard blinked. If we retaliate militarily, Harry explained, Vanaheim will twist the story. They'll claim Asgard invaded them first. The other realms will see us as aggressors, especially Alfheim and Ljosalfar. Asgard already controls too many routes. We'll look imperialistic. Frigga exhaled slowly. Then what do you propose? Harry turned toward the window overlooking the golden bridges of Asgard, shimmering in twilight. We need to show Vanaheim that Asgard is not afraid, but we also need to avoid giving them justification for war. Frigga tensed. Harry, I'm not sending troops, Harry said. Not yet. First, I will send a diplomatic envoy. Frigga raised an eyebrow. Who? Harry breathed out. Me. Frigga nearly exploded. Absolutely not. Harry met her glare. Grandmother, you are not walking into a trap, Frigga snapped. Vanaheim is counting on that. They'll pretend diplomacy, then poison you, ambush you, mind control you through their damned vine magic. Harry stepped forward and placed a hand over hers. I am not going alone. Frigga cleared her throat softly. And who would you take with you, child? Harry's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. I am sending word to Alfheim, he said, and to Nidavellir. If Vanaheim fears anything, it is being opposed by the two realms they rely on most. Frigga's eyes widened. Harry continued. Alfheim is bound by an ancient pact with Asgard, and Nidavellir owes us for protecting their forges for millennia. If they join us in a formal diplomatic visit, Vanaheim cannot act. Frigga exhaled shakily. You intend to trap them with politics. Harry nodded. Yes. He walked to the throne, stood tall. He looked at the guard. Prepare a message to Alfheim and Nidavellir. Summon their ambassadors for an emergency alliance meeting. The Green Circle wanted a war, but they had no idea who they were provoking. The morning sun rose behind the golden towers of Asgard, but inside the throne hall, everything felt cold. Harry sat upon Odin's throne, not comfortably, never comfortably, listening as chaos roared around him. 16 voices, all nobles, all desperate, all terrified of the implications. Envoys murdered on our soil. Vanaheim will take this as an act of war. We cannot survive two fronts at once. Not with Jotunheim still unstable. Harry raised a hand. Instant silence rippled outward like a shock wave. Facts, Harry said quietly. Not panic. Tell me exactly what was found. 2 Einherjar guards stepped forward, flanking a floating stretcher veiled in shimmering gold. Beneath it, Harry could see 3 still bodies, cloaked in green and brown, the insignia of Vanaheim stitched over their hearts. The senior guard bowed deeply. Your Highness, at sunrise, these diplomats were discovered in the Western Garden. They were attacked and killed. Sirius, standing just beside the throne like Harry's shadow, muttered, Inside Asgardian ground, Merlin's beard. Harry's jaw tightened. Continue. The guard gestured, and another pair of Einherjar placed objects onto a conjured stone table. Harry stepped down from the throne. Daggers, arrows, all forged in Asgardian metal. Harry rested his fingertips on one of the daggers. It vibrated faintly, still carrying trace magic. Magical residue? He asked. One of the guards nodded. Fresh, no more than a day old? The council went wild. This is clearly retaliation. No, this is a frame job. Your Highness, Vanaheim will not care why their envoys are dead. Harry straightened, and the hall fell silent under his commanding glare. Asgard did not commit this murder, he announced, but someone wants Vanaheim to believe we did. Lord Valley stepped forward, tall, sharp-eyed, calculating. Your Highness, the Vanir King is not known for patience. He may already be mobilizing. Lady Brynhild scoffed. We should respond with strength, not appeasement. Harry ignored her. He addressed the guards instead. Secure the area. No one enters the garden except forensic mages. I want magical traces, footprints, every spell echo within the last 48 hours. He turned to Heimdall. Inform Allfather. Update him. He'll want to know. Heimdall nodded silently.
Author's note. While dark toasts are raised to awaken a forgotten goddess, Harry begins reshaping the 9 realms with wit sharper than any blade. From political traps to brewing wars, the real battlefield is no longer just steel and magic. It's power itself.
The tale ends. For now, subscribe to Crimson Tales and let the shadows call you back.